Good morning and welcome, children, in today's episode of the English classroom for class 12. We are doing one lesson from the supplementary reader book Vistas on the Face of It, Part 2. So, we already have completed Part 1, so we'll continue with Part 2 today. First, we'll try to understand the introductory part of this lesson, and then after one short recapitulation of the part that we already have done in part 1, then after we'll continue with the text. I have referred to the text because it is very important that you should read and you should go through the text. Okay, all our discussion should be centered around the text. So, on the face of it, introduction. This is a play about an old man, Mr. Lamb, and small boy named Davy. Davy suffers from a complex. He gets one side of his face burnt. He always remains sad and alone. He doesn't like to go near people because they don't like him and say him ugly comments. Mr. Lamb himself has a thin leg. He has a very positive attitude towards life and people. He shows the right way to young Derry about judging men and life, and he also encourages him to lead a normal life, leaving behind his past. So, this is the introductory part of the lesson. And in part 1, what we have seen that one day the young boy Derry was roaming here and there, and suddenly he saw an isolated part. Actually, that was the garden of Mr. Lamb. He thought that he wanted to spend some time in that isolated place and lonely, empty place, because he had developed that tendency, withdrawal tendency. He wanted to lead life aloof from the, common stream or the mainstream of life. And that's why he entered there thinking that nobody was there, but Mr. Lamb encountered him and talked with him, and he had actually welcomed him rather in his garden. Okay, and thereafter the conversation that took place, the reflection of the talk of the conversation was that Derry, the young boy, was very much depressed about his life. He had developed a kind of chronic and very complex kind of inferiority within him. He never wants to be in the company of the people. Okay, so with that with that much knowledge of the or the pre-knowledge rather of that text of part 1, we will continue now to the part 2. But before going to that, the major areas of discussion that I already shown you that day, Derry enters Lamb's garden. That one we already have done. So our discussion, a matter of discussion today will be Derry's burnt face. Then Lamb has a thin leg. Derry suffers from a complex, and Derry indulges in self-pity. Okay. Now let's proceed with Derry's burnt face first. So today we are going to discuss this 4. Yeah, so Derry's burnt face. What are the what is the subject matter of this part that we'll see. Derry says that people are afraid of him because when they look at his face, they find it terrible and ugly. Even he himself is afraid of himself when he sees his face in the mirror. Now, Mr. Lamb talks of the ladder, stick, and apples and how he makes jelly from them, but Derry doesn't want Mr. Lamb to change the subject and wants him to talk about himself. Mr. Lamb thinks that perhaps Derry's face got burnt in a fire. Derry corrects him and tells him that he got acid all down on that side of his face and it burned it all away. The acid ate up his face. This is important actually. He said that acid not only had burnt his face but actually eaten up his face and himself also. Now we'll go to that text. We'll try to see how the things have been reflected here. Yeah, so we'll refer from here. Here we'll see Mr. Lamb. No, not the whole of you. Not of you, Derry. Yes, pause, Mr. Lamb. Later on, when it's a bit cooler, I will get the ladder and stick. Actually, what happened? He was talking about that people get afraid looking at my face. Who said? Derry. And Mr. Lamb wants to change the topic because he didn't want to talk on the. He understood readily that actually he had that developed that inferiority complex due to his face, because he already was suffering from physical impairment. Okay, now he continued talking like they arrive for it. It make jelly. It's good time of the year, September. Look at them, orange and golden. That's magic fruit. I often say, but it's best picked and made into jelly. You could give me a hand. Now Derry said, what have you changed the subject for? People always do that. Why don't you ask me? Why do you do what they all do and pretend it isn't true and isn't there? In case I see you looking and mind and get upset, I will tell you, don't ask me because you are afraid to. Now Daddy actually, uh, what he's saying actually, he said that why you're changing the subject. I know that you are afraid from within looking at my face, but you wanted to change the subject. People always used to do, and you are also doing the same. Now Mr. Lamb's reaction, you want me to ask? Say so then, Derry. I don't like being with the people, any people. Now he continued. Mr. Lamb, I should say, to look at it, I should say you got burnt in fire. I suppose you got burnt your face in fire. Now Daddy said, not in a fire. I got acid all down that side of my face and it burnt it all away. It ate my face up, it ate me up, and now it is like this and it won't ever be any different. He said that it's not going to repair. Nobody can repair, nobody can change this one, and I must have to live with this stigma of this burnt face. So this is what is the tragedy of this boy, and the thing had been deteriorated by himself. Why? Because he is very much concerned about his inferiority, rather thinking how the way to come out from that problem. On the right hand side, you can see in green color is the explanation of this part that we already have discussed, so I'm not going to repeat this one. If you want, you may go through. This is just a reflection of the explanation of this part. Okay, now we'll go to the next part. What is that? Lamb has a tin leg. Now actually what happened, they were conversing, and that conversation I have divided for our convenience to understand this lesson, okay, in these way, this areas. Okay, Lamb has a tin leg. Now Lamb spoke up and said that I also have the physical deformity like you, but I don't have that kind of negative attitude towards life. But now life should be led the way it is, not the way you are doing. So that's what he wanted to show. We'll see that. Okay, the subject matter of this part will say, Derry says that they are not similar. Mr. Lamb is old and Derry is young. Derry has got a burnt face and Mr. Lamb has got a tin leg. Similarly, one green plant is called a weed and another a flower. It is all life. It is growing. Now, Mr. Lamb got his one leg blown off. Some kids call him Lammy Lamb, but he doesn't mind it. It fits. He doesn't put on trousers to cover his leg. A tin leg or a burnt face are not the only things to be taken notice or to be stared at. There are so many other things like crab apples, weed, and sunflower that deserve our attention. And Mr. Lamb enjoys life and people as much as he can. Now, Derry expressed his ideas about life and how to lead the life properly. He said that there are a number of things, innumerable and numerous things are there which we can think about. Why should we always think about our deformities and all? Okay. Now we'll go to the text and try to understand. Mr. Lamb, no, Derry. Aren't you interested? Means interested on my face. Like that's what he wanted to say. Mr. Lamb, you are a boy who came into the garden. Plenty do. I am interested in anybody, anything. There is nothing God made that doesn't interest me. Look over there, over beside the far wall. What can you see? There is a rubbish. Mr. Lamb, rubbish? Look, boy, look. What do you see? Dairy, just grass and stuff and weeds. Mr. Lamb now explained that thing. Okay, what he said, some call them weeds. If you like, then a weed garden that. There's fruit, there are flowers and trees and herbs, all sorts, but over there, weeds. I grow weeds there. Why is one green growing plant called a weed and another flower? What is the difference? It's all life, growing, same as you and me. Dairy, we are not the same. Mr. Lamb, I am old, you are young. You have got a burnt face, I have got a thin leg, not important. You are standing here, there, I am sitting here. What is the difference? Where is the difference? That's what Mr. Lamb said. Now, Daddy, why should you got a thin leg? Now, Daddy became a little bit curious about his, impairment and said that how you lost your leg, Mr. Lamb. Real one got blown off years back. Lamb. Some kids say, haven't you heard them? You will. Lamb, it fits. Doesn't trouble me. Now, Daddy, but you can put on trousers and cover it. You see, now, this is very important actually. Dairy and Lamb, from this discussion, you will see that Dairy is has confined himself rather within that problem of inferiority complexity. All right, and Mr. Lamb's view towards life is totally different. He said that whatever problem I have, so I must have to lead the life with that problem. Okay, so those shortcomings shouldn't come on the way of my life. Okay, rather we must have to think beyond that. Yeah. Now, Dairy said what? Though you said that you have, you don't have leg, you have one thin leg. But your problem is different, my problem is different. How it is different? Dairy said what? Listen carefully. But you can put on trousers and cover it up, and no one can see. They don't have to notice and stare. Mr. Lamb, some do, some don't. They get tired of it in the end. There's plenty of other things to stare at. Dairy, like my face. See how negative attitude he has said that, like my face. Mr. Lamb, like crab apples or weeds or spider climbing up a silken ladder. Oh, my tall trees, will see that later on. So this is what is the discussion. Okay, yeah. So the explanation once again on the right hand side there, but before that we already have discussed here everything, so I'm not going to repeat those things here. You may, if you want, you may go through. Okay, yeah. Now we'll go to the next part. Now, Dairy suffers from a complex. This is important. Dairy suffers from a complex. The inferiority complexity is there. So now in detail the things will be discussed here. Okay. Now, Dairy say that people have told him many fairy stories to console him, like it is not important what you look like, but Dairy knows that he will not change and will stay as monstrous beast. Now, no one will kiss him ever, only his mother, and she too kisses him on the other side of his face. He doesn't care if nobody even kissed him. Mr. Lamb asks Dairy if he doesn't care to be kissed by pretty girls with long hair and large eyes. Will he not like to be kissed by the people he loves? Now, Dairy replies that no one will ever kiss and love him. He is grieved and he won't ever look different. Even when he will grow as old as Mr. Lamb, he will look the same. He will still have only a half face. So this is the problem with this boy. He was thinking about that he has lost his face. He has lost his face means the face have burnt, and he must have to live the life with this, and that has become a stumbling block in his life. Now, Mr. Lamb, we'll see now. Mr. Lamb replies that Dairy may have a half face, but world has got a whole face, and he should look at it. He said that Why you are thinking about yourself, your half face? The world has full face. No? So you look there and enjoy the world. Be a person, a member of this world. Nature is for everyone. So in this way he tried to motivate. Now we'll see the conversation here. Okay, now Derry thinks, Mr. Lamb, it's all relative, beauty and beast. Now Derry, what's that supposed to mean? Mr. Lamb, you tell me. Derry, you couldn't think they haven't all told me that fairy story before. It's not what you look like, it's what you are inside. Handsome is as handsome does. Now, Beauty loved the monstrous beast for himself, and when she kissed him, he changed into a handsome prince. Only he would have stayed a monstrous beast. I won't change. Now, Derry said that people told me all this story. I know that beast has been changed into, that monster has been changed into a beautiful, handsome prince. But I am not going to change. Nothing can change my face. Though, why should I assimilate myself with that story? So, here lies the problem of this boy. Now, Mr. Lamb, in that way, no, you won't, Derry. And no one will kiss me ever. Only my mother, see, very, very important statement. Only my mother, and she kisses me on the other side of my face. And I don't like my mother to kiss me. She does it because she has to. Why should I like that? I don't care if nobody ever kisses me. So, this inferiority complex, this frustration is very much deep rooted with this point, right? Now Mr. Lamb tried to eradicate everything. But do you care if you never kiss them? Derry, what? Mr. Lamb, girls, pretty girls, long hair and large eyes, people who love. Derry, who would let me? No one. Mr. Lamb, who can tell? Who can tell that no one will love you? Okay. Now Derry, I won't ever look different. Said that I cannot change. Right? I must have to lead my life with this burnt face. That's what he wanted to say. When I am as old as you, I will look the same. I will still only have half face, Mr. Lamb. So you will, but the world won't. The world has got a whole face, and the world's there to be looked at. Now, Derry, do you think this is the world? The old garden? Mr. Lamb, when I am here, not the only one, but the world as much as anywhere. Now, Derry, does your leg hurt you? Now, Derry is trying to change the topic. Said that, does your leg hurt you? This artificial leg? Mr. Lamb, tin doesn't hurt, boy. Now, Derry, when it came off, did it, Mr. Lamb? Certainly. Derry, and now I mean, where the tin stops at the top, means how the fittings of that artificial leg has been done with on his leg. That's what he is trying to ask. Mr. Lamb, now and then in wet season it does signify. If it doesn't signify. Now, he said that in the wet season he got some sort of pain or the problem, but it's not so important. Now, Derry, that's something else, they all say. Look at all those people who are in pain and brave and never cry and never complain and doesn't feel sorry for themselves. Mr. Lamb, I haven't said it. Derry, and think of all those people worse off than you. Think you might have been blinded or born deaf or have to live in a wheelchair or be deaf in your head and dribble. Now, Derry is saying what? Derry is going one step forward, to give him advice like that. You shouldn't think in that way. You have only one leg of your you don't have that tin leg, but otherwise you are okay, na? You could have born like as means blind or deaf, or you could have walked on the wheelchair, but that didn't happen. So you should think, you should compare yourself always with the worse of people, the people who are worse off than you, so that you get a motivation, Mr. Lamb. And that's all true. That's all true. And you know it. He said that, yeah, that's all true. And you know it, it means. So, what you wanted to say, Mr. Lamb, that in my case you are saying everything, and why can't you motivate yourself? Okay. Now, the next part we'll see, dairy indulges in self pity. Now, Derry is obsessed with what people say and comment. They remind Derry that there are people even worse than him. He might be blind, dumb, mad by birth, that already have discussed. Sometimes people can be very cruel. A woman once called him a terrible thing and said that only a mother could love such a face. Mr. Lamb advises Derry to keep his ears shut. Derry says that he doesn't like being near people, for they stare at him and pass cruel comments. Okay, now this one we'll see. Yeah, so Derry, how he replied, he said, I won't make my face change. It won't make my face change. Do you know, one day a woman went by me in the street. I was at a bus stop and she was with another woman. She looked at me and she said, whispered, only I heard her. She said, look at that. There's a terrible thing. That's a face only a mother could love. Mr. Lamb, so you believed everything you hear then? Derry, it was cruel, Mr. Lamb. Maybe not meant as such. Just something said between them. Said that between them they talk. Why should you hear all these things? Now Derry said, only I heard it. I heard, Mr. Lamb. And is that the only thing you ever heard and once say in your life? Derry, oh no, I have heard lots of things, Mr. Lamb. So you know, you keep your ears shut. Mr. Lamb advises him what? So then you do one thing. So now you keep your ears shut. Apna kaan band rakho. Now Derry, you are peculiar. You say peculiar things. You ask questions I don't understand. Now actually here from, with this question we'll see there is a change in Derry. Derry started thinking differently. Said that you say peculiar things. I never have heard people saying like that, the things that you say. Mr. Lamb said, I like to talk, have a company. You don't have to answer questions. You don't have to stop here at all. The gate is open. Derry says, yes, but Mr. Lamb, I have a hive of bees behind. He's giving one more motivational speech. He said that I have a hive of bees behind those trees over there. Some hear bees, they say bees buzz. But when you listen to bees for a long while, they hum, and hum means sing. I hear them singing my bees. Now, Derry. But I think I like it here. It came in because I liked it. When I look over the wall, Mr. Lamb, if you have seen me, you would not have come in. Now, Derry, now out of this conversation, what I have seen, that he tried to say that people, the way you will look at the world will give you meaning. Okay, your thinking will give the meaning of this world. So I look at the bees, their buzzing sound appears to me as a humming sound, and that's why it appears like a song. But people used to call the bees buzz, so it matter with the people onlooker. Now the meaning we'll see, few word meanings also given. You may refer whispered, peculiar, and hive. Now we'll see the explanation of this part. Derry said that all these would not be changed his face. One day, as he was waited in a bus stop, a woman passed by him. He heard her telling another woman that he had such a terrible face that only his mother could love him and no one else could. Now this is the explanation of this part and how Mr. Lamb tried to motivate him. This is the subject matter of this one. Okay, this explanation. Now we'll go to the next part of it. Okay, and this is the almost last part. I know it's very long, but this is the drama it will take a little bit of time. Now Derry said that it would have been trespassing, said that if I would not have taken your permission, entered there, it would almost kind of trespassing. Mr. Lamb said, that's not why. Now Derry said, I wouldn't like being near people when they stare, when I see them being afraid of me. Now Derry said, see, each and every queries of Derry has been answered very quietly, minutely, and with a positive attitude of Mr. Lamb. And that's why, Derry was influenced by Mr. Lamb. Now we'll see that how this query of Derry has been answered by Mr. Lamb. Derry said what? I don't like being near people. When they stare, when I see them being afraid of me, people used to look at me, they used to say that it's a terrible thing, they used to get afraid, isn't it? They scream. So all these things actually make me, very much uneasy. And that's why I don't want to go in the company of human being, other people. Now Mr. Lamb said, you could lock yourself up in a room and never leave it. Now he had given one example, a story, okay? You'll see that. There was a man who did that. He was afraid, you see, of everything in this world. A bus might run him over, or a man might breathe deadly germs onto him, or a donkey might kick him on death, or lightning might strike him down, or he might love a girl and the girl would leave him, and he might slip on a banana skin and fall, and the people who saw him would laugh their heads off. So he went into this room and locked the door and got into his bed and stayed there. He said that a person was there who was very afraid of everything, and see what had happened to him. He locked himself thinking of different because he got number of like doubts in his mind. Now see, in reply to that, Daddy said, forever he locked there inside in that room, Mr. Lamb, for a while. Daddy, then what? Mr. Lamb, a picture fell off the wall onto his head and killed him. Derry laughs a lot. Mr. Lamb, you see, Derry, but you still say peculiar things. You say peculiar, Mr. C, peculiar to someone. To some people, my words could appear peculiar, but not to all. Yeah. So this much we have done in this part. This explanation is also there if you want. This is the explanation that I already have discussed. The same explanation you will get in this green part. And before I sum up this lesson, I will try to see the this pictographical presentation of this story. Okay. Now Mr. Lamb died the same day, but before death he had passed on his legacy of positivity, which was to stay with Derry for the rest of his life. On the face of it, what is the flow of the story? We'll see Derry, half-burnt face, inferiority, complexity. He meets Mr. Lamb in a garden. Now people are, what were his different problems? People are afraid of my face. Even I am. Get acid down on my face. Okay. It ate my face up. It ate me up. Difference of perception between Mr. Lamb and Derry. Okay. Derry had very negative attitude towards life, and Mr. Lamb was very positive. Now Mr. Lamb has given the example of Beauty and the Beast that we have discussed now. Mother kisses me because she has to. Women in street whispering, a face only a mother could love. You can lock yourself in a room and still not be safe. So this is what is the suggestion of Mr. Lamb, that you can lock yourself in a room but still not safe. He had given the example, a man who did that didn't go anywhere afraid of dying, locked in a room, died of a picture falling on his head. World is beautiful, enjoy, sit in sun, read, enjoy the world. That was his suggestion. Okay, so this much we have done. Rest other part, The next part we will discuss in my, and we'll try to sum up the whole drama in my next class. Okay. I would like to tell you that along with that I have given some solved questions on the face of it in assignment section of the Google Classroom. Okay, so please go there and complete your work and send me back. Thank you very much.